Popo taking photos, yeah. Talking is a no-no, call me Quasimodo. You know me, 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 you know me. After that paper, yeah, that paper, yeah, that paper, yeah, that paper. You know me, you know me.
G-Todd, what's going on, my man?
Hey man, it's happy to be here. Thank you for having me and thinking about me.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you for even reaching out and chopping it up with me. I tell you what we're doing with YurpTV, man. Pretty much trying to give everyone a voice that may not have a loud voice or even have that type of influence or a platform where they can get their opinions out.
Right.
Let's start off with where you from, man.
I'm from Bertie, man.
Bertie County.
Bertie County.
Oh yeah. I know all about Bertie.
Grew up in Windsor, a place called the Neck. So
Word.
if you ever hear people, you ever go to Bertie County and ask them where the Neck is, everybody knows. It's
Okay.
a little spot in Windsor.
What made you move to Greenville?
Actually, I moved back. So I was teaching school in Virginia.
Gotcha.
When I started my business, I wanted to move back, but I started in Eastern North Carolina.
Okay.
But I knew at some point I wanted a family. I didn't want to start my kids in an area that doesn't really have a lot of social activities.
I got you.
So I moved to Greenville.
Okay. So you were in Virginia?
I was in Newport News.
Word. I was in Norfolk for
Yeah.
about 6 years.
I hung out in Norfolk a lot too, man.
Yeah.
I lived in Norfolk for a hot second, then I moved to Newport News.
Okay. How did you like it out there?
Man, I loved it. I loved it. I missed the area a lot. Like that's like second home. So I stayed out there for about 3-4 years. Right after college, I taught some school out there. I taught 1 year in Bertie County, and I went and taught a few years in Newport News. And then I started my business and came back.
Yeah, it's a lot tougher out there in Newport News.
Yeah. But it's always, when it goes back to what I was saying, when you have exposure, you have opportunities. To me, growing up in Eastern North Carolina, I mean, I tell people all the time, it's a different type of ghetto.
That's a fact.
You still got to scrap. You still got to work your way out of situations. You still had like the influences. It's a major drug gateway, the I-95 corridor. You get a lot of drugs and trafficking coming through here. So we had all the trappings of a urban ghetto, just with dirt roads and cow pastures.
I agree. That's what's up. So what is it that you do? If I were to ask people who G-Todd is, what would people say?
It depends on the day. So what I try to say, I'm a social entrepreneur. I'm a socialpreneur.
Yeah, I saw that. What does that term mean? So
I subscribe to a principle of entrepreneurialism that with a social purpose. So everything I do with the purpose of uplifting our people.
Gotcha.
So right now we're in my mental health agency, in which I've had this established now for 20 years. It's actually my 20th year in operation. Uplift Comprehensive Services. Also, we have a nonprofit called The Power of You, where we do mental health. So Uplift is my mental health agency, and The Power of You is my nonprofit. We do a lot of outreach, community outreach, after school programs, early child intervention, child trauma treatment, those type of things. And in my mental health agency, we do the hardcore therapeutic interactions with youth.
I got you. Well, it sounds like a lot, though. I know being that you're doing it probably doesn't sound that hard. But what would be some hardships that you face trying to build this empire that you built?
I mean, in the beginning, it was getting people to buy in. I was 25, 26 years old. It was a family business. I had my family behind me, but initially, my brother was still working. My brother is my partner. My brother and my mother. My brother was working for the Geological Survey. He was a scientist at the time, and he had tenure. When you getting everybody to buy into a vision, I don't want my family to risk. So they had my back, but they had to stay where they were until I got the business to a point where they could come out.
I got you.
So my brother, he stayed on the job. My mother was close to retirement, so I had to hold things down in the beginning until they were able to come. So that means I had to work the group home in a shift. I had to get off work and go to board meetings during the daytime, go to the schools with the kids. I started with group homes.
Gotcha.
So it was 24/7. And then I had to go out to the stakeholders in the community and make them have buy-in to me. This 25, 26-year-old kid saying, look, I want to work and help my people and help these young people. And they're like, you look like a young person yourself. So I had to kind of get them to buy into me.
Yeah, and how were some of the tactics? What were some of the tactics you used to get people to buy into you?
I tell people
it seems tough coming from a black gentleman myself.
You know, the main thing we got to do is just not be afraid to step into the room. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was step into the room. You know, go into the settings and keep pitching your vision. So a lot of times people are afraid to come into these settings, and they come into it like a sheep. You have to stand in the gap like a lion. You have to stand in here and say, look, this is what I'm doing. And you got to have confidence in what you're doing, because you're trying to sell that vision to other people. So I'm having to come into these meetings and saying, look, I understand. Well, beyond that, understand, I worked in this field for a minute too. I worked my way through college. So I knew the group home. I knew the system. I worked with the other providers. I worked with other companies. Okay. So even though I was young, I already had like 4 years of experience. I worked my way through college in mental health. So yeah, even when I was teaching school, I worked part-time in mental health facilities.
So I had to deal with any, being that you're a diverse character coming into these rooms with these people, did you have to deal with any type of racism, any type of stigmatism on?
You know what? I'm sure that they might have thought some things, but the reality is, you know, it's up to me to prove myself. I think that's a mentality sometimes that we have, and that we allow ourselves to be suppressed before we are oppressed. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, we know it exists, but my thing is, if you're gonna say you're gonna be the boss, then you can't take no for an answer. You know, sometimes I hear people. And I think the world of Dame Dash and Jay-Z, right? But using them as an analogy, a lot of folks come at they have an issue. They say, well, look how Jay-Z did Dame Dash. Jay-Z didn't do Dame Dash like nothing. Dame Dash is a grown man, his own boss. So if Dame Dash doesn't have what Dame Dash is supposed to have, then that's Dame Dash's fault. That's a fact, right? So it's my job to make it happen. It ain't nobody else. You know, it's nobody else's responsibility but mine. So when I go into these rooms, I'm like, look. This is what I'm doing. I'm here. I'm not going to accept any excuse. And so, yeah, I had to earn trust. But to be honest, my first break was coming from white people. Yeah. You know, white folks gave me my first break. I had a harder time getting my own people to have buy-in.
Trust me.
Than I had with other folks.
Trust me. I know.
You know what I'm saying?
That's the dilemma I got now with this whole platform. You know what I'm saying? Right. I did it to help our people, but those people are looking to support me harder if I go in that direction. You know? Right. And it's just a dilemma. You know?
I think we focus too much as a people on the wrong type of racism, right? Individuals can't affect me. I focus on structural, systemic racism. That's the problem we have. Whether a person has an individual bias or not has nothing to do with me. I'll put him under, he'll be under my feet before it's over with, because I don't let any individual stop me, right? But it's the system that we have to worry about changing. So when you hear me talk as a social, going back to my role as a social entrepreneur, a part of that is my commitment to the community. So we had to reschedule the day because I was talking to my good friend Don Davis, and we were talking about what we have to do here in the East. And you know, he was facing some political challenges, and really just sitting down with another group of brothers, you know, kind of working with him to say, okay, how can we support you? So, you know, so I had to reschedule a little bit with you, man. But at the end of the day, I'm always trying to step in those gaps and step in those rooms to make sure we eliminate the structural issues. And so that's what the real challenge is.
I got you. What would you say to somebody young like myself, man, looking to, you know what I'm saying, step into entrepreneurism or whatever, you know what I'm saying, whatever you would call yourself? What would you say to a young person looking to jump into that?
So the first thing you gotta do is eliminate the naysayers. You know, you got people around you, your mom, you know, some people don't understand that it could be your best friends.
I definitely
It could be your mom. It could be, because understand, and it's tough sometimes. Even now, my mom, I've had to make my mom, and my mom is my partner. Yeah. And she'll tell you, I've had to make her a believer at times, because not that she wishes bad on me, she's always my protector. My mother, my father, they're my protectors. So my father, you know, my father's kind of, all right, son, go for it.
So you grew up with both parents?
Both parents in my house.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a blessing, man. As I got older, I realized how much of a blessing that is.
Let me ask you, what do you feel about single parent households versus full parent households?
I think we have to be real in our community. We have to restore the family. We have to put that back. You know, I mean, and I tell brothers, I've had young brothers say, yo, man, you know, but I got a couple girls, I got babies by a couple of you know, women or whatever. What should I do? Man, pick the one you like the best. Work that one out, and then find your best way to man up, be the man of that situation, and make it good with the other one. We understand that we are people who are traumatized, and there's a lot of issues in our community and our families. But the only way we move forward is the family. And I tell you, there's never been a group of people that the system, going back to the system, has worked as hard to break up their family as is African American.
That's a fact.
So if you got to understand, they wouldn't work so hard to break us up if they didn't understand that that's where the power rests.
They definitely know.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
So, I going back to like my and it catch me up, man. You might have spliced this because I ramble a lot with all the different things I work with. But one of my biggest things is I'm a historian. I love to consume African history, African American history. Mm-hmm. So I went to Charleston, South Carolina. Mm-hmm. I tell anybody that's one of the ports that we entered into. So even when people talk about we're gonna boycott South Carolina, I'm like, nah, why are you gonna boycott where your history is? It's a lot of your history down there. Mm-hmm. So, but I went to a breeding farm and I understand what happened to us as a people. When they abolished the slave trade, then they had to start creating slaves here because they couldn't import any more slaves from Africa. Mm-hmm. So what they did was they started these breeding farms in which they would bring in a slave, and they would bring in a male slave, they would bring in a female slave. They would blindfold them. So the man didn't know who he was having sex with, and the woman didn't know who he was having sex with. And then they would just have the woman lay down, and they would have multiple guys come behind and have sex with this woman. So that nobody knew which seed took or whose child it was. And then they would repeat the process all day long. And that is how they start to farm and raise home slaves, almost like a cattle. The same way you do cattle today, they did us as black folks. And they did that to make sure that the men didn't know who their child was. They said, if he knew who his child was, then he would fight to the death to keep his child. Yeah. So they were able to separate us and divide us and cut us off that way. So we have to really, man, look at what was done and why it was done systemically. And you fast forward to the policies from the Welfare Reform Act all the way up to the mass incarceration system. Everything was done to destroy the black family.
I got you.
So our only salvation is the restoration of the family.
Mm. Yeah, that's a big part in our community, man, that needs answers. I think we're running away from that. I think as a community, right. That is definitely one of the biggest. Even with me, I have 6 kids by 5 different women. Okay. So I'm definitely part of the problem. I started off super young with no guidance. You know what I'm saying? My father wasn't in my household. I didn't really have any older gentlemen telling me. But
Paul, see what you said though? The first thing you did was you acknowledged where you messed up.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's the first step of fixing it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's definitely, man, I've been trying to, I wish I could get a house and put them all in there and just call it a day. You know what I'm saying? It ain't gonna work like that, obviously, but I definitely feel like, we definitely have to work towards family. But I feel like, honestly, man, the world is not built how it was. Like, an older person, I feel like, can't tell a younger person how to live because it's a whole new world. And they're doing it purposely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. But let me back up, man. I have a friend of mine who did exactly what you just said. He had multiple kids, and it took him a while. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It took a lot of getting himself together. It took a lot of working with his baby moms. Mm-hmm. But he has now, as the kids got older, he brought them all in the house together. Like he got them, daddy got them. You know what I'm saying? And so, but it's up to the man to restore the confidence. It's a confidence thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And there's still, we've broken down some of our key communications. It's my job as the man to make sure that my lady has confidence in me. Mm-hmm. So, that might take some time. You know what I'm saying? And it might have times where I might give a doubt, right? But then I have to fix it. So it takes time. And you know what I'm saying? So, don't say it won't happen. It just ain't happened yet.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm with that. Right. Let's go back because I kind of interrupted you when I asked you what would you say to a young person looking to jump into entrepreneurship. Well,
the first thing I would tell them is, again, ignore the naysayers. Mm-hmm. There's a tendency in our community to hold us back, right? We call it crabs in a barrel, but sometimes I say it's you're a giraffe walking around with you're walking around with giraffe vision amongst turtles, right? So the turtle is the longest living, one of the longest living mammals, right? But he does that by staying close to the ground, keeping his head in, not looking around, moving slow. That's how he survives. But we got a whole lot of us who are walking around here trying to survive. But the giraffe, he got his head high, has a different perspective. Might not live as long, but he sees more. And so the turtle can't relate to the vision of the giraffe at any time. So, you know what I'm saying? You have to understand that God gave you a giraffe vision. You know, so you can't be, you know, when a turtle tells you what you can't do, you just got to understand that they don't have your vision. Now, what I tell people is the vision is just one part of the equation, though. Then the second part is now put together a plan. And that's why I feel like a lot of folks are falling off and why a lot of our businesses fail, because we have a vision, but we won't put the plan effort. And sometimes that plan means educating yourself more. You know, you can't jump out here. I tell people, even when you look at Jesus, right? Jesus had all the potential from birth. He's the Son of God. God sent Jesus to school. We ain't hear nothing from Jesus until he was 33, right? So if Jesus had to wait till he was 33 and study his craft to be him, and he was born the Son of God, why do you think you can jump out here with no study and get something started? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know,
I agree.
Everybody with
But
potential.
at the same time, it has been done.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You do got those people that do break out of the mold with no school, you know what I'm saying?
It's different between formal training and self-training.
Okay.
So I'm not saying you got to go to a school and set it, because I think that's the biggest mistake that we as my generation, you know, well, the generation before us put that on us. You got to go to school. That's why everybody in my generation got debt. Because I ain't saying don't go to school. I'm saying be smart about your education. So don't go consuming debt. Don't think that's the only path. I'm saying if we're going to, you know, my man is a videographer, right? So he wants to prepare he wants to increase what he does. That means he got to study online videos. He has to go catch a course. You know, that somebody might be offering a community college. It's a constant change and way to better myself. Look at, you know, he might want to apprentice with somebody, work as an apprentice with somebody else who's doing big stuff. Like there's ways of doing it. You know, my cousin, he's a truck driver. I had this conversation with him one day. And he looked at me, he said, "Cousin, I wish I stayed in school." I said, "Why?" He said, "Man, you know, I see y'all brothers, y'all doing good." I said, "Man, we window dressing, fam." You know, the most of the people right now with college degrees, I said, "How much you making with your traveling truck?" "Man, I make about $120 a year." $120 a year. You know, you know, and you got no debt except for your truck payment. You know what the average college graduate around here is making? Like $35,000, $40,000, and they got $50,000 of college debt, right? So you in a much better position than the average college graduate. You know, my cousin had a big crib down in Florida, you know, got big trucks and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, you in a better position. You know, we have education for so long for African Americans were a way out. And we got so ingrained and indoctrinated into that being our way out that we overlooked other professions that now are in big need, and we're allowing other folks to take that.
That's a fact.
So, you know, you know, if it's plumbing, it could be, you know, all those things, but we need that. You know, we welded, we need those trades in those schools now. So I'm not saying it got to be a formal education. I'm just saying, if this is what I'm gonna do, then I'm gonna read a book about it. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna take time to study it. I'm gonna take a small business course to make sure I don't mess up the money. You know, I messed up so much money, man. You know, oh, bruh.
What, like taxes?
Nah, just frivolous spending, or did not invest in what I should, or wrong investments over the years. You know,
but you had a trial and error too, right?
You do, but my goal, man, as someone who's kind of been there and done that, is I'm trying to help people to have less errors in their trials. You know what I'm saying? So if I made this mistake, now sometimes, you know, you can learn either through watching other folks or making the same mistake. So my goal is to let me surround my young brothers, you know, and help them not make that mistake. How can I help you not make that mistake that I made? You know,
I feel that. You also write children's books.
I do.
What's up with that? What inspired you to even write your first one? That's like an odd profession to get into, you know? So my wife and I, we started a publishing company, and actually, it started. That's amazing too.
Yeah. So it started, man. I'm telling you how sometimes God has a way of giving you nudges, and sometimes people will open the door and listen, and sometimes they'll ignore it, right?
Yeah.
So we had this gentleman named Carl Long who went and he showed up my wife's office one day. And he said, "You're going to write my book. God told me you're going to write my book." Right? Carl Long was a Negro League baseball player. He was one of the youngest Negro League dudes. Started playing the Negro League when he was like 15 years old. He played with Satchel Paige and all the boys. Like he was a living legend right from Kinston, North Carolina. Okay. And so Carl came in and said, "You're going to write my book." And my wife said, "Sir, I don't write books," right? So they went back and forth, and finally I said, "Babe, go ahead and write this man book." So she wrote the book, and she said, "Well, who's going to get to publish it? Now we got the book, it's written, who's going to publish it?" And Carl said, "Well, God told me you're going to publish it." My wife said, "I don't know how to be a publisher." So I said, "Baby, go ahead, let's do this. Go ahead and make the, figure out how to make it happen."
Yeah.
So we published his book, and then that launched a whole publishing company. And then after we did that, I was sitting here and I said, "Well, baby, we should do a children's division." And she said, "We ain't got no children's authors." "I'll do it." So I just literally wrote, I started writing some of our books, and then we ended up getting another children's author, Ruffin McNeil, the coach that was here. We did his children's book. We launched his, I think, was first. Then I launched mine too. I did one with my daughter, Dad's Little Princess. And it was crazy, man. That one just took off. Like that one was in Yahoo. We were featured at Yahoo. We were featured at Essence Festival. We were featured in Huffington Post.
How many copies did you sell?
It's still selling.
Really?
I mean, yeah, it's still selling.
Well, what was the first week or first milestone?
Honestly, my head was down. My head was down, like plugging away, like just let's just make it happen. My wife said, you sold 20,000 copies last year, right? I'm like, 20,000.
That's a lot.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
What you talking about? Like between my 3 books, like you sold 20,000 copies of your books last year. Like you need 20,000 my books?
Yeah.
Because schools were buying them, churches were buying them, libraries were buying them. I got people buying my books, man, now in Brazil and Africa. I got orders from Poland. I got orders in South Africa right now. I'm like, yo, how does this happen? So
what was your initial thought, man, knowing that your book is going around and impacting so many people? I still have the same feeling every time I get a parent who sends me pictures. Somebody sent me a picture the other day of their child reading my books. That's crazy.
And it's like, yo, and it's like sometimes I know the people and like it'll be family and friends or somebody who knows me, they tag me. Then it'll be like random people who will tag me or random sites who feature my book. I'm like, wow, like how did this even happen? And even this weekend, I'll be in Philly. This weekend, we're featured at the Philadelphia Children's Book Fair, the nation's largest children's book fair. We've been featured now for 4 years running.
Wow. So do people reach out to you after a while, or you start making the connections yourself?
Yeah, well, a little bit of both.
Okay.
So, the thing is, it's and sometimes, man, with all my other business, I'm like, baby, I feel like my wife is like, baby, we gotta go. Like this weekend in Philly, I'm like, I can't do Philly. I'm tired. I want to go to Philly. She's like, nah, we do Philly every year. That's we going there. So we're going to Philly this weekend to do the Children's Book Fair. And again, we have I launched one with my daughter. That one took off, so I wrote one called, that book is called Dad's Little Princess. And then I wrote another book called Dad, Who Would I Be, with my son. And in each book, going back to my dedication to our history, I put historical figures in the book so our kids will know that they can do great things because people who look like them have done it.
I just had that discussion. I hate to cut you off. No. I had that discussion with actually my daughter's mom or son's mom, one of them. She wanted to go to a nail salon. And I was like, why don't you go to a black-owned nail salon? You know what I'm saying? That way, it's not only just because, they're black. It's more so because your daughter's going with you.
Right.
If she sees someone doing your nails that's black, maybe okay, I could be a nail technician.
Absolutely.
I think that plays heavy on our brain. What do you think?
Absolutely. One of my blessings, I think we talked mentioned earlier that, I was raised in a 2-parent household. And my pop always had a side hustle, always had to work. He did this, then we did construction. Like right now, if I need to put a wall up in here, I can put a wall up because I worked with my pop for years. And then my uncle, he owned a sewing factory in town. And my other uncle, he had his business, but he had some juke joints he was doing. People, don't know, juke joints are like a little club back in the day, where they had to get down, the party, the shot house, whatever. So we have, my uncle had this. So it was always, then we have farmers. There was always some other enterprise going on. So in my mind, always knew I had to have a business. Even if I had a 9 to 5, I had to have a business because I saw it. So it's automatic. And so it's important that we let our children see it. Black people are tangible learners, which means we have to see it, feel it, touch it. You know what I'm saying? And it becomes relative. That's how we learned even before we came over here. In the ancient schools of Timbuktu, it was a very apprentice-based tactile learning system. It was one of the best in the world. You know, before while everybody telling us that we were in jungles, they were at libraries in Timbuktu that the whole world came and sat at our feet to learn. You know what I'm saying? It's one of the biggest libraries outside of Alexandria, Egypt. But that's how we learned was a moving tactile learning system. And then, so as Black people, it's important that we see that and our children see that.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Where do you see yourself? I would already consider you successful in your own right. Where do you see yourself in 2 years, man? Keeping your foot on the gas with all these things you have going on, man. Where do you see yourself?
That's interesting. So I of course, there's like 2 or 3 other business enterprises I'm working on. I'm doing, so in 2 years, I see myself doing government contracting. I expanded toward government contracts. I'm gonna be expanding my after school programs. Now I have one in Berkeley County. I'm gonna have 2 more sites in 2 years. I mean, I'm gonna say it's gonna happen.
Definitely speaking.
I'm going to have a hemp operation because industrial hemp is now taking off. So I have a farm in Berkeley County right now that I'm in the process now of applying for my licensure for hemp.
Now, what if marijuana becomes legal?
Then we're gonna do that too. I do both.
I think that'll probably knock hemp out of the way.
Nah, it's different applications. Okay. Different applications. Matter of fact, the hemp in North Carolina hemp farmers right now are poised to make as much as Colorado marijuana farmers.
Word.
Because of the scarcity of the market and the newness of the market, and because Colorado has been so saturated with marijuana that the hemp farmers are now, it's not saturated in Carolina. So you can do well. So it's still a growing business. Like I say, any Black person right now, we kind of got to unplug from our old school biases and recognize this is the new gold rush.
That's a fact. And
it's the way for Black folks to make money. Even those who are on small farms. So, it's funny, one of the things I was talking to Senator Davis about today is making sure that we protect hemp farmers in our upcoming budgets and other upcoming legislation. We want to make sure that we don't undermine the hemp industry.
I got you.
What you doing, Quasi? Shit. Working on my bankroll. Trying to flip it cause I'm tired of the same old. Getting richer on these niggas, that's my main goal. That's my main goal.